So today, what are we going to be learning? I would love for you to leave this workshop today knowing how to do a number of things. One is to identify job search steps. There are definitely steps in a job search, and there are definitely steps that you want to follow in order. And so I'd love for you to know what those are. How to conduct a skills and values-based job search, how to organize and plan your job search, how to connect and network with stakeholders, how to review job descriptions, really important to be able to dissect those job descriptions and then recognize where your transferable skills will come into play when looking at a job description. And then above all, I'd love for you to leave this workshop at least having a plan of action on how you're going to execute your job search. So the agenda today is broken up into 4 sections to kind of make it easy to guide and follow. So we're going to start with targeting, but we'll then move into planning, executing, and tailoring and customizing. So targeting. This is the first step in the job search process. So oftentimes when I meet with students in career advising appointments, typically the advising appointment is I'm looking for a position, right? And the first thing that a lot of people want to do is launch into gathering their job search materials, resume, cover letter, references, those types of things. And that's great. You should definitely be thinking about that. But I will always ask the student, let's take it back a number of steps. Step 1 is what are you looking for, right? If you take your time and do your due diligence and figure out what you are targeting in a search, the rest of your job search process is really going to fall into place. And so what you need to ask yourself are, what are your job search goals? What are you looking for, right? What type of work? Right now, are you interested in a full-time work? Are you interested in contract work? What type of organization are you interested in? Nonprofit, for-profit, potentially maybe government work as well, which we'll touch on a little bit. And also, what industry are you interested in working? What sector? What field? What location? Is geographical location important to you? And is that going to be a part of your job search target? And what is your timeline, right? When are you hoping to really land a position? And then how soon do you need to really start moving into your job search? One of the things I wanted to kind of pull up here is a pie chart, right? And this pie chart is by no means, it's just an example, but I want to show you how that people allocate time for a job search. What a lot of folks really want to do, and I'm going to get my laser pointer, a lot of folks want to do is spend a lot of their job search time right here in applying for positions, right? And that is an essential part of job searching, no doubt, but where people really miss is this targeting portion. And the reason I just wanted to bring this up is we're going to talk about time allocation for job searching as we go along here, but I wanted to give you a visual to see that this tailoring and applying for positions are really, it's a small piece of your job search pie, right? And so spend the time right here targeting and identifying what you're looking for, and then you kind of move into the other pieces of your job search from there. So ways to figure out what you're targeting for your job search is to do some self-assessment. A lot of us really go over this step and we don't spend any time thinking about what do you want out of a position. And so what we're looking at in terms of assessing is skills, interest, and values, right? So what we want to know are, what are you good at, right? Skill-wise, what are you naturally, really excel at? And some ideas about some skills might be writing, maybe curriculum design, maybe you're a really good public speaker, or perhaps you have really great technical skills that you can offer, right? That is a self-assessment. You're trying to assess what am I really good at and what do I like doing on a daily basis. This is going to be one section of identifying your target in a job search. Also, what interests do you have? Where do you spend most of your time right now? Are there particular research topics? I know as PhD students, you might be immersed in research that you're really passionate about right now. Is it Alzheimer's research, cancer research, or perhaps teaching topics are really of importance to you? Or maybe leadership or service, policy or advocacy work, maybe even hobbies would give you some insight into what your interests are. And then values. And values are really, really important. So what are the parameters for your next work environment? What is important to you in a place of work? And so this could be, you might be thinking about family. Some of you might have families at home, and maybe having a more structured 9-to-5 work life is really important to you, or financial security, or perhaps geographic location is something that you really value and is going to be a part of how you target your job search. Work-life balance might be really important for some folks. So it really depends on what your skills, interests, and values are. And what I want to show to you today is an incredible tool called Imagine PhD. So our director, Amy Maxfield, had some collaboration in this tool that's made specifically for grad students. And what I wanted to show you is there is an assessment feature on Imagine PhD that you can utilize to help you figure out what are those skills, interests, and values. And so what this looks like is the skills assessment, interest assessment, and values assessment, which you can start any of these once you're logged into Imagine PhD. And from there, you're going to go through these assessments. They are a Likert scale based on what's not important to you and what is most important to you. And you can go through and make your selections, and then you're going to get this really organized assessment result. And what I think is really impactful about this assessment result is that you are going to be able to make note of what are your most important values. And why this is really important is for you to be able to identify if you're doing some networking with someone and you want to ask questions about, well, in your line of work or your organization where you work, how fast-paced is it, right? Or, what type of, is there an opportunity to kind of climb that career ladder where you work? These are the types of things that you need to ask yourself and really know about yourself whenever you are networking with people and when you're evaluating job descriptions as well. And evaluating target organizations that you might want to go after. You want to be sure that they are kind of aligned with some of your skills, interests, and values. Another tool, a free one that you could use, is Life Values Inventory. That's available to you. It's a free resource online. Everything that I am alluding to in this workshop today is going to be linked in a resource slide at the very end of the presentation, and you're going to have access to that after this presentation. So just another free tool that you can gather more insight and information about your self-assessment. Also, we have a values worksheet, and so my colleague Tina adapted this values worksheet, and it's got based on different categories, so work environment, work context, work relationships, and then personal intrinsic values as well. And so we're going to come back to this. What I like to do at this point is pause for an action step. So we're going to do this a couple times throughout the workshops. I want this to be action-oriented. So we're going to take about 1 to 2 minutes, and I'd like for you to identify from the values worksheet 3 to 5 top values for your next work environment. And then what you're going to want to start to think about later is how this influences your job search strategy. So 3 to 5 top values and priorities. Go ahead, I'm going to pause for a second and give you about 1 or 2 minutes to jot these things down wherever you're taking notes today. So I know that probably was not enough time, but I just kind of want you to get started in thinking about making selections on values. And what's really important here too is how this has influenced your job search strategy. So hopefully you can take some time post-workshop to continue what we started here in this action step. And you're going to have all these resources available to do that on Imagine PhD and this worksheet and the free resource as well. So the other thing that's really important in creating your target in a job search is really understanding the market. So I'd be remiss to not mention, the market that we are in right now. But regardless of what market we're in, it's really important for you to understand which sectors and which industries are growing, which are stagnant, and which are dying, right? So it's really important for you to do your research, do your due diligence, and educate yourself on that. So places that you can do that, which I've linked for you at the end of this presentation, is U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Austin Chamber of Commerce, or whatever city you might be interested in. There's a Chamber of Commerce there that you could look up, and Career One Stop are all really great places to kind of check out what's going on in the industry. And so this might be an opportunity for you to think about, how do I apply my skills into an industry that's growing or a market that's growing? And what sector is that? And how do I kind of make that pivot if I need to? Clearly right now we are in a market that is stagnant at the moment. There's a lot of slowdown in the employment space. And so one of the things I really want to provide you with today is a way for you to help educate yourself on those companies who are still hiring right now. And Handshake is a platform that we use at UT, and it's Hire You Texas, powered by Handshake. They have a really nice list of 500 companies who are still currently hiring. And then Coda, Levels, and Candor are not necessarily platforms that we endorse. I just merely wanted to provide them for you as a means to look at what's going on with companies, who's in a freeze, who's hiring, and kind of what's going on. So again, all of these are going to be linked for you. It's a really good idea when you're in this first phase of your job search to really understand the market, and it's especially important right now to understand the market and knowing that the market will get better, right? It will, but if you're launching into a job search right now, it's really important to maybe check out some of these lists to figure out who's still hiring, and that could really help you make your target right now. And knowing that your target can evolve and change based on the market as well. So here's what the Handshake 500 companies hiring right now looks like. So you can kind of see the name of the company, the industry, and the states in which this company is still hiring. Again, this will be linked for you, so you'll have access to it. The other thing in the market right now is to think creatively, right? Like, we know that COVID-19 has really impacted the job market in really severe ways recently. But that does not mean that your job search is obsolete, right? Like, some people just want to throw their hands up and just say, well, I shouldn't job search right now. And that's absolutely not the attitude that you want to have. There are still companies hiring, and there are ways for you to think creatively about your job search. So perhaps right now, could you think about contract work or freelance work or project-based work? I've linked here Parker Dewey and Fiverr. These are just examples. We do not endorse these either. They're just examples of micro internships or gig-based work that you could consider. And can you consider something that's more transitional in nature? So meaning, if you do contract work with a company that might be one of your target companies or dream companies, could that later, when the market gets better and when they are ready to start hiring again, have you had an opportunity to demonstrate your skills, demonstrate what you can do for this company? So that is a great way to make a transitional step into a company without maybe a full-time role initially. Upskilling, could you utilize this time right now? Are there things that you know you need to increase skills on? Is there an industry that you want to pivot into and know that you need to gain some skill sets? So things like Coursera or LinkedIn Learning would be really great places for you to work on some skill sets. Some of the caveat here is some of these platforms, of course, are cost-based, so you just want to be careful there. But just something to think about in terms of, do I have a skill gap, and is that something I need to work on to be competitive in a highly, highly competitive market right now? And then entrepreneurship. Have you ever thought about having your own side business or launching your own business? Now could be a time for you to maximize on that if it's something that you've ever considered before.